Thank you for talking to us. Have you got anything particular about education, which is your area, that you'd like to talk to us about? Anything you'd like to...
I suppose the most obvious general point is that for a country like ours in the 21st century, the only way that we can compete and be prosperous in the future, and the only way that we can make sure that everybody in our society can share in that prosperity, is to develop our skills and talents. So there can't be a more important activity than education. Obviously education at school, but also at college and at university. Much of our future as a country depends on what we do in our universities and colleges.
Okay, you say that students have a very hard time, a lot of students struggle with the idea of fees and sort of financial difficulties. How do you justify charging students for their education?
What we justify is the fact that it's a fair contribution towards the overall cost of their education, which is very largely financed by the taxpayer. The graduate differential, that's the difference between what graduates can expect to get paid and what other people get paid, is wider in this country than most other countries. So it is a reasonable estimate, a reasonable investment to invest in your own education to get a degree. And of course we structured the fee loan system so that if it doesn't work out, if you don't earn a reasonable salary, you won't pay anything back at all. So it's pretty much a one-way bet. You're investing in your own future, you can expect to benefit from it. The taxpayer is paying most of the cost of your education. That's a fair outcome.
Okay. You said that you're trying to include as many people in education as possible. There was the target of 50% of young people in education. Is that in higher education? Is that still something that the government aims for?
Yes, it is. We want to get about 50% of 18 to 30-year-olds in higher education for two reasons. One is we believe that there are certainly that number of people with the ability, the aptitude to benefit from higher education. And secondly, we need that many people educated to degree level if we're really going to be competitive in the future, because other countries, ones that we compete with, already have more graduates in their workforce than we have got.
And how do you think you're doing on that target?
We've been doing pretty well. I mean, there's been a statistical blip just very recently, because 2 years ago there was a surge in the number of student applications ahead of variable fees, then a drop back. So the participation rate has fallen back most recently, but actually the upward trend is there, and we know from the acceptances to university last year and this year that actually we're back on course, and when next year's figures come out, people will say that we're making progress towards the 50% target.
Okay, you say that. David Willits today announced, sort of talking, that he believes it'll take 118 years to reach 50% of young adults in education.
Well, that's up to David Willits. The truth is that when the Tories were in power, they cut investment.
I didn't ask whether... I asked...
Yes, and let me tell you.
Okay.
I don't actually trust what David Willits says about these things, because I know what his party actually did in power, which was to cut university spending by 30%. We have, per student, we have increased university spending in real terms by 25%. That is why we're making progress towards that target. We would all like it to be faster, and it is certainly going to be considerably faster than David Willits says in that press release, but at least we're committed to that target. He doesn't even share the target. His party doesn't even believe we should be getting that many people to university.
So do you know roughly what figure you're on at the moment? And
the figure as of last year was 42%. Because of the statistical change I talked about, it's actually dropped back to 40% now, but next year we'll be back on target above 42% and going upwards.
And you're happy with that?
I would like to go faster. I'm pleased, though, that if you look on it on a year-on-year basis, every year we are doing better. We're putting extra money into more student places over the next 3 years. We will continue to make progress, and I am convinced that in the years to come we will reach the 50% target. What is most important is we continue to make progress every single year, and we are actually the only people in Westminster who wants to do that.
Okay, Universities UK have also said that over 10 years they expect there to be 70,000 less undergrad students.
There will be less young people in the cohort to go to university because there's going to be a demographic fall in the number of young people. On the other hand, we know that there's a big unmet demand for university education from older people in the workforce. There's 6 million people in this country who've got sufficiently good A levels to qualify for university admission who've not been to university. They're now in the workforce. So as the number of young British undergraduates will fall because of the demographics, there will be more people from the older workforce coming into universities.
And what kind of support have those older students that you're saying that are coming into universities, is there support in place for them? How do you feel that your department's encouraging them and supporting them?
A lot of people would say that we need to take a fresh look at this, and I'd be inclined to agree. I'm not going to promise money on the table, but if you look at part-time students, some are fine because they're paid for by their employers, it's part of their working conditions. Others are paying very largely the cost themselves, although we have introduced for the first time ever a fee support system for part-time students. I think we do need to look at whether part-time students, looking at all the factors that affect their education, get adequate support, because there will be more part-timers in the future. My guess is that the great growth of part-time students will be from people who are in work who are supported by their employers, but not everybody is going to be in that position.
So the aim is to rather than the government and the student themselves supporting, to have businesses?
Yes, I mean, certainly, obviously, a lot of businesses do pay for employees to go through university already. Part-time degrees, foundation degrees, master's degrees, business administration degrees, and so on. And they do that because it pays back for the company. I mean, so, investing in the people who work for you is often a better investment than investing in new IT or other equipment. As more and more companies realise that, we think more will want to invest in their staff by paying for them to go to university.